This is my pet duck Adam going for his first swim. Be careful, Adam. Adam! Adam!
Oh, gee, well, you know what? I'm tired of your presence. Dismissed.
Hey, yo, well, DeeKnow, here we are with another video. Let's go!
Hey yo, what's good? It's DeeKnow and we're back with another video full of crazy clips from all over the internet. I hope everybody's doing well. Today we got some clips of some pretty crazy stuff going on all over the United States having to do with this ice stuff. So let's just hop right into it.
Here we go again.
Here we go again.
Alright. So we're gonna be looking at a lot of stuff like that today. Just a fair warning ahead of time. The thing that I've got to make note of that needs to be said is if they are out there really trying to make an impact or a change, they should not be rioting and looting and destroying property, and they should also be flying the American flag, none of which they're doing. So let's just move right along.
Someone has been unalived. So the first body has just been found in the LA protests and riots. The body was found on a sidewalk at a site where looting and protesting was just happening. LAPD responds to a call at about 1:30 in the morning about an unresponsive person. And all we know right now is that it was a man, and he still hasn't been identified yet. There's no information on how he was unalived, but this is surely going to escalate things even more now. And as we enter the fourth day of chaos in LA, a mystery person was caught on camera handing out gas masks and riot shields out of the back of a Ford F-150.
Oh, look at this, dropping off food and water. I mean,
That's not food and water.
For what could be a long night right now.
Looks like masks.
Yeah, no, those are masks. Yeah, so people are prepping for some sort of altercation with police as we speak.
Yeah. This is a different scene than what.
This intersection, like I said.
Yeah. Very different scene. And are those hats that you wear that are more like helmets? I mean,
it just feels like something's going to happen, and you're waiting for it to happen. There's no local police to be seen.
Yeah.
All I want to know, seeing stuff like this, let's be real, everybody. Everyone here is an adult. So let's be real. That's funded. Somebody is funding going around handing out pallets of bricks. Somebody is funding going around handing out gas masks, full face cover gas masks. Somebody is funding this stuff. All right. let's move along.
Well, guys, after 847 years, Mom says it's time I find my own place. Apparently, I need space to grow, whatever that means. All right, first place on the list. It's rustic, which is realtor speak for. Probably raccoons inside.
Hey, not alone. There's a raccoon living in there. He seems chill. I told him I'll handle food if he handles security.
Told the raccoon I'd handle food. Time for the signature stickfish. He'll be impressed. All right, fish is done sight. One for me, one for the roommate. He's chill. Doesn't talk much. Might be camera shy. Someone asked, what do I think about people calling me a hoax? I mean, I showed up once in '87 and got called a guy in a suit. All right, day one living solo, not too bad. Didn't burn the place down. Made a friend. Cooked fish.
All right, that is the use of AI that I can approve of right there. That's awesome. That's one of the greatest things I've ever seen come out of all this AI stuff. Bigfoot vlogging. Wow.
He said aliens are on the far side of the moon and they are not our friends. It's a very interesting story. Ingo Swan, very interesting cat.
So what took these photographs?
The moon surveyor, lunar surveyor, satellite.
And none of that stuff's ever been released?
Oh, they released a lot of images from the far side, but they release what they release. That's why we know there's fewer impacts on the far side, because we've seen those images.
But there's no images of these domes or whatever?
No. I've seen some that maybe are faked, that look pretty compelling. I forget what episode I just showed them in, but when I found them, it was mind-blowing. And I can't find them again for some reason. Like I wanted them for another episode, and I can't find the photos, which is always suspicious to me. It's like suddenly the thing is blurry off of Malibu. Like you just can't find the stuff. But my gut tells me something's going on up there. Someone's aware of it. I'm dying to know what it is.
It would be unbelievable if Mars was the first planet that had life before Earth was capable of supporting life. It reached a very high level of sophistication and then started seeding Earth.
Right. Panspermia theory.
Yeah.
I believe we have at least one rock from Mars that just landed here. I think we have one of those. So from maybe a giant impact or something through some of Mars over here.
But the idea, I think, is that their atmosphere was deteriorating, or that they were getting further and further from the sun.
Their magnetic field was weakening, strips away the atmosphere.
And so this would be the thing. If you were a super advanced civilization, the race would get so advanced that you could leave your planet.
Yes.
And that's the only way you're going to survive, because eventually your planet is going to move over millions of years further and further away from the sun, not able to inhabit life anymore.
Right, so maybe send your DNA or whatever to the third rock.
Or Anunnaki.
Or Anunnaki.
That's the good one.
Yeah, they show up everywhere.
That's the ultimate one.
That is the big one. The Anunnaki's the big one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's one that makes you go, oh.
Because it shows up everywhere. It shows up in the Bible. It shows up in the Mahabharata. It shows up in ancient Chinese literature. It shows up everywhere. Not always called the Anunnaki, but the Anunnaki, and then they have their servile species that could be the Nephilim, could be the giants, and then they take these primitive humans, give them just enough intelligence to mine the gold. It's part of the lore.
Speaking of Anunnaki and whatnot, that's a really interesting subject, but I saw something the other day, and it was referring to Mars as the Massive Automated Reality System, which is a whole other level of this Anunnaki stuff in its own, but it was also related to this Anunnaki stuff over here. It's pretty interesting. I might put some videos up on about that in the next episode.
And we have new information for you this morning. Santa Ana police confirming 10 people were arrested at that protest. Around 200 people took to the streets condemning recent ICE raids. Things did get heated. At one point, some people seen throwing rocks, fireworks, bottles, and other items at police officers.
I've seen this transform from a semi-peaceful protest because the police were instigating early on to what you see now, an armored vehicle, all these police, a helicopter. Yeah. It's crazy. I don't think that this is warranted because our outrage is justifiable.
Luckily, no officers were injured, but an unlawful assembly was declared around 9 p.m. last night.
Speaking on what he was talking about, where he says his outrage and their outrage is understandable. Yes, it may be understandable, but outrage to the point of destruction, breaking laws, destroying property, attacking people, throwing what's considered weapons by law at police officers and stuff like that. That is that's where the problem therein lies, is doing things like that instead of keeping it peaceful. And it's hard to mediate and manage large groups of people and keep riots from breaking out, because all it takes is one person being ridiculous and then 10 more people follow, and then because 10 people follow that person, 50 people see those 10 people doing what they're doing and then start following suit, and then from there it's just like a massive infection. So like really that therein is where the problem lies, is not being able to keep it peaceful.
I think people, it's new, people don't like new. And then what are the implications of weather modification that we don't know about? And, like, how does it manipulate the rest of the weather by changing the ecosystem?
How does it manipulate the rest of the weather by changing the ecosystem, he said. I can't answer him clearly, but let's just say it's not good. If you look at things like what has happened with Dubai, where they had a very large amount of rain, flooding for literally no reason, all at the wrong time of the year and everything, just because they geoengineer their weather so much that it slapped them right back.
The police just said we're all under arrest.
Like it's unfortunate, if some people get caught up in the crossfire because they're in the wrong place and they place themselves there. But this is getting out of hand, and they're just, at this point, they have to do their job. They have to stop businesses from being destroyed. They have to. That's their job. And that's happening more often than not. I mean, there are vehicles being lit on fire. There are businesses getting lit on fire that could being completely looted, then burned down. There are people getting hurt. Like, this is a bad situation. And like I was saying previously, like, there's a point where peaceful no longer becomes peaceful, and they just have to do their jobs. All right, so before anybody goes off in the comments about how that guy was press, unfortunately, I'm sorry you think that way, but it doesn't matter if you are news, press, or any kind of journalist. When something like this is happening, you don't get in the faces of the people doing their work. You just don't. That leads to things like what you just saw at the end of that video. As unfortunate as it is that they're having to rely to these kinds of things like tear gassing large crowds, they were blocking off travel for a whole bunch of downtown out there. So again, I see from both sides, they're doing their job, all right? And people are destroying and impeding traffic, and they're destroying property, and they're causing more problems than not by just blatantly ignoring the rules of don't walk in the middle of a busy street and block off the street. You need permits for that. You have to, you go schedule your marches and stuff like that if you don't want to get in trouble. There's a peaceful way to go about this stuff. And those avenues have mostly not been taken by some of these groups. So just really think about it from a legal standpoint, from any way that it could be looked at on news or radio news or anything. Just look at it from a realistic perspective. There's more problems being caused by these protests than not, and the people that are suffering are people who run small businesses or own their own, like the 7-Eleven in the one video that I saw the other day. Like, those people, listen, most 7-Elevens are not connected to like a larger corp, all right? Most of them are private owned, and these people buy 2 or 3 of them, and they just have the 7-Eleven name. It's like a franchise, and they have 2 or 3 of them, and then they are foreigners who came here legally, built their way up, and then made their way to owning a business and running a business, and they're suffering. You have to understand, all right? There is a peaceful way to do things and a proper way to do things. And most of what I have been seeing is not the proper or peaceful way to do things. Now, granted, there are a few groups that I have seen, and there are a few posts here and there that I have seen of the proper way. I saw a video of cops taking a knee with protesters, being peaceful, sharing food, talking in a large area. I saw stuff like that. Now, that is the way that it needs to be handled. Everybody needs to be able to talk, understand, and spread the message without destruction, because all that destruction is going to do is warrant a reaction of retaliation from the people who are in our governments that are being employed to protect the streets. Like, you really need to understand this. And I'm not trying to preach to everybody. I'm just explaining there are people that don't understand. There are proper ways to go about this. And you're seeing them all over the TV, all over the internet these last few days.
This is huge. This is a massive story. Record this, download this. This is a potentially dangerous story for me to share, but you need to see this because we need answers. I am happy, healthy, and not prone to accidents, just saying. For context, I do a radar and satellite review show on my website every single day. So when I tell you this is freaking weird, I know what freaking weird is. As I was reviewing radar data, I spotted an anomaly in Florida. It appears that a wave was emanating from each tower, which was subsequently pushing the cloud cover and precipitation outward. That alone shouldn't happen. The mainstream narrative is that these towers only track systems, but here we have clouds and rain being moved in a perfect circular outward fashion at the exact same speeds near each tower. And look at this area. When the clouds collide in the middle between 2 separate waves from 2 separate towers. Then as I looked along the Gulf coastline, this is where things got even more crazy. All the towers along the coastline are doing the exact same thing at the exact same times. Texas, Louisiana. Look at Louisiana. The wave is emanating outward to the point where the clouds and precipitation spreads out equally in all directions and is then eliminated. In fact, even more strange is at every area of precipitation near the towers along the Gulf and Atlantic coastline disappears simultaneously. And that's not even the craziest freaking part. The craziest frickin' part is the time code for when these waves occurred, about 1940 UTC. These areas felt seismic activity. The local news reported it as an earthquake at a 3.1 magnitude.
Well, at about 2:41 this afternoon, apparently there was an earthquake out about 10 miles deep in the Gulf, 70 miles south of Gulf Shores.
A rare event in this area. You heard me right. The moment we saw these waves around these towers, they reported that there was an earthquake. Here's the thing, though. Earthquakes don't impact the atmosphere. It can't move clouds. It certainly wouldn't move clouds in perfect circular waves emitting outward from each and every tower along the entire Gulf coastline up to the Carolinas on the Atlantic coast. And I'm still trying to figure out, is this emanating from the towers themselves? Or is there something working with them in the ocean? So I looked a little further to see what I could find in the cloud cover in the Gulf around the time of the supposed earthquake. And I found this.
Definitely in the ocean, something working with them. Right. It's
what
on those oil rigs, man.
These clouds out there like that.
It's what's on those oil rigs. I used to have dreams about those oil rigs, man. There's machines on those oil rigs that pump out clouds, and we've got a few out here in Texas that like are easy to just drive by, and you can watch the clouds being like just straight out of this giant machine. It looks like an ice maker or something, and it's just pumping out fake clouds up into the atmosphere, like straight up. Like it's weather manipulation at its finest. Well, see, that looks like an example of a peaceful protest happening. They're all on the sidewalk in a blocked area for the walking where they're supposed to be, where no vehicles go. Nobody's bothering them. They're not bothering anybody. All the press has their own little sections where they're doing their own reports. That seems like that was a proper way to protest. This is the stuff I'm talking about. This is what we have to avoid as a society in America. If we want things to get better, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be avoiding. This right here. And see, this guy has morals. This guy has balls, too. He gets up, he stands in front of everyone, and he's like, yo, this is not a riot. This is a protest. Let's keep it moving. This isn't what we're all about.
Oh my God! Okay, you got it. We'll stay live. We'll stay live. Oh my God. Oh my God. Holy crap. You may... Yeah, I've got you. Oh my goodness. Oh my God! Oh my God!
What if we did Kill Tony, but for musicians, and then we steal their jokes? If it turns out that Timbaland's been going live doing music reviews and getting people to pay $20 to skip the line so that him and his friends can laugh at them, and then he's using that music to train this AI artist that he signed. I don't think that he could come back from that. Just so yucky and yuggly, dude. If he used the music that people submitted to him for music review, and he trained his AI with it, he is fucked. I don't know, man. I'm gonna stop referring to stuff as, oh, that feels like a Timbaland beat. I'm gonna start going like, oh, that feels kind of like an asshole beat. Yeah.
Feels kind of like a computer beat. No, this is bad. Timbaland, please, man. Like, look, I know you probably ain't never going to see this message, but please, man, what you're doing it's morally incorrect. It's not right. You remember what happened with the last AI artist that came out and how it got canceled almost immediately? Well, it got canceled for the wrong reasons. What it should have got canceled for was that it was a virus upon the music industry that is trying to take over real hardworking human beings' jobs and their positions of art. And, you know, music should be something just like any other form of creativity and art that's left to mostly people. Like, it's sure, if you want to have toys like AI creation, advanced generative stuff, if you want to have toys that do stuff like that, sure. But, you know, at least you're admitting to the fact that it is an AI artist from an AI company called Stage Zero. That is the part that I can back you on. You are admitting, which is the number one rule of doing this stuff. You are admitting to using AI. However, do you really think that this is going to help the music industry? Or is this going to line your pockets really fat, and then music is just dead as a whole in about 5 years because all the organic, real human artists can't get heard because of the overinflation and oversaturation of the acceptance of AI artwork that even a 10-year-old could create? All of you standing there in front of this volcano, what is wrong with you? Like, do you have a death wish? Why are you wearing jackets and stuff? I mean, is it to block the it's got to be 112, 115 degrees, just ambient temperature standing over there. What is wrong with all of you? Yes, because I want to climb a giant volcano and be standing halfway up the volcano as it's erupting. Y'all are wild.
Oh my gosh! So what is that?
Nope, we're not going there. We're not going there. Alright, that is obviously, look, right here. In that center spot, you can see where the back area over here of dirt is. There's a window reflection that goes over to where that tree is in the center, right? Watch this window reflection. Yeah, there it is, window reflection. He's zooming in. Boom, window reflection to what's behind him. Somebody walking on the path behind him. It looks like an old guy. It looks like the dude from Jurassic Park, honestly. But then he walks out of, you see that window reflection, how it stops. The grass is darker on right after that spot where he disappears. That's a window reflection. He's walking, and he disappears.
This has been a peaceful protest. The major incident here was that car that appeared to clip a few protesters. That was at Wabash and Monroe. So we're going to continue to try to figure out what happened there, if that driver was arrested, what the intention for that driver was. Aaron, a lot of open questions here, but for the most part, despite the scale here, and it is a noisy protest, there have been no major incidents aside from that car that appeared to have driven, into or near that protest, Aaron.
So that's the car from the other video where the cop was chasing it down the road. No, I don't care if you gotta get somewhere. Don't push people out of the way with your vehicle and then drive away. I understand how, these people could be getting on your nerves standing in the middle of the street. All of these protesters and rioters, I can understand that. But, go around. Drive around the areas that are being protested in. Use common sense. Don't bounce a few of them out of the way, because then it becomes a hit and run. Now you're going to go to jail. Now you have to go to court. And you have to stand up for yourself and tell people, well, I was trying to get to work. And they're going to be like, but you hit people with your weapon. Because that's what they're going to refer to your motor vehicle as. So, common sense, please. This can't keep getting worse like this. It's been going on long enough already, and it's still going on now, and it's only getting worse. So, can we just...
No, gasoline. A gasoline truck. A gasoline truck. Get out of here. What the shit? A la verga. Puñeta.
It's like everybody wants to live in a military country, where the police are no longer the police, they are actual military.
And with that, it's time to go to fucking... Oh my god! Take off!
I can only be real and brutally honest about it.
Illegals are tearing apart LA, forcing Trump to deploy the National Guard. Elon claims Trump won't release the Epstein files because he's in them. The future Colombian president is assassinated in broad daylight. And now an insurance whistleblower is being silenced for exposing the most corrupt industry on the planet. Just watch.
If you think the most successful financial institutions on the planet are insurance companies, you look at the failures during the 2008-2009 financial crisis, which was a global crisis. In the US, we had 364 banks fail. You didn't have a single life insurance company fail. The downside of this industry, and the reason why I left it, was that I was not allowed to have any contact with the patient or any contact with the treating physician. If I was reading a medical record and saw a life-threatening drug interaction, I could not contact the patient. And most people, especially young people, probably don't realize that they're walking around right now at about 55%, maybe 60% of their true state of normal. There is an element missing from their body that, if they knew what it was, would make the difference between them being an average person and being a superhuman.
Or supplement. Don't end your sentence there, Gary.
So it's called L-theanine.
Then I started researching L-theanine, and I came across this Shark Tank episode that completely proved everything he was saying.
Use a blend of natural caffeine plus L-theanine and B6 and B12 vitamins in each piece. How long does it take to be effective? 5 to 10 minutes. So the people who try a product really love it. Ryan, I gotta tell you, I am so friggin' hyper right now.
This is exactly what they were chewing on. It's called Neuro Gum. It has this combination of caffeine and L-theanine, which I find out is backed by science. You chew it for 5 minutes and you enter the zone. Kind of like that movie Limitless, where you forget time exists. Stuff just gets done because it's a bunch of tabs and your brain just closed. It's way cheaper than Addie's, but I will say the only problem with it is that every time Joe Rogan mentions it on his podcast, they sell out almost immediately. I'll try to link it. If you see that orange card, it means they're still available. If it's not there, it means it's sold out. So grab some if you still can.
So extremely over-caffeinated caffeine chewing gum tablets. Alright. I see. It's not good for you guys. No scootering down the freeway.
Across the country, immigration enforcement teams have been much more visible of late. Here in Surrey, they're raiding a caravan park suspected of housing illegal immigrants working as delivery drivers. Across the site, the obvious signs that some here are working in the gig economy, with multiple delivery bikes parked outside some of the static homes. 9 people here were detained on suspicion of immigration offences. This was one of more than 9,000 immigration enforcement raids carried out since Labour came to power last July. Almost 6,500 suspected illegal workers and other immigration offenders were detained in those raids. Here in East London, this man is suspected of working illegally in a local restaurant. With the number of immigration enforcement arrests up by more than 50%, Border Security Minister Dame Angela Eagle said it showed Labour would no longer tolerate unscrupulous employers exploiting migrants. However, with some estimates putting the number of illegal immigrants at more than 1.5 million, the government's efforts will make very little difference, according to Alp Mehmet from the campaign group Migration Watch.
It's a drop in the ocean. We've got something like 1.5 to 2 million people here illegally. The illegal population of this country is, a conservative estimate, is 1.5 million, likely much more than that. 6,000 that you're going to arrest and release, big deal. Okay.
This nail bar in Belfast is one of dozens raided by immigration officers in recent weeks. Along with food outlets, the gig economy and the construction sector, they're all receiving extra attention from enforcement teams. The task at hand may be enormous, but ministers say they are determined to crack down on the vast numbers working in the illegal economy. Mark White, GB News.
And see, you gotta understand, it's happening worldwide. It's happening worldwide where, governments are trying to handle the illegals that are in their systems, that are sending money back with no taxing and, sending money back to their origining countries and stuff. And it's just hurting the economies of these different countries. And so, I can see.
Here's a live look at Boston, Massachusetts now as we check back in on one of our top stories, anti-Trump protests taking place across the country today after a tumultuous week, to say the least, on Wall Street and the economy. We want to point out, just a few minutes ago, we did show you a protest. We said it was Boston. It was not Boston. It was an unrelated protest. But what you are looking at right now is Boston, and I'm from there. I can recognize this. This is the plaza right outside of City Hall in downtown.
What are you doing? I'm so glad I get to be the first person to do this. Oh no! Oh my God! Darren did it! Oh my God! Darren did it! Oh my God! It's plane rock! Oh my God!
Yep.
Oh my God! First.
I guess that's one way to protest Nintendo's obscene prices and the fact that they're doing digital game key cards instead of selling you the game on cartridges and other things that people have a problem with. But come on, man, you still spent the money just to do that.
What's up, mother?
That's the greatest thing I've ever seen done with AI. I would watch a whole show if it was just this guy.
We know overnight the Adidas store, a jewelry store, Apple store, shoe palace, a dispensary, not just one but two, and a pharmacy have been broken into and looted. Most of the stores on Broadway have been looted. I mean, a lot of them are multiple stores the majority of them have been on Broadway. More buildings and police vehicles have also been defaced. Mayor Bass holding a briefing at the Emergency Operations Center.
You can't possibly be supporting immigrants and vandalize our city, and understand that if you do that, and it is 100% unacceptable, you will be arrested, and it might not happen that day. So don't think because you went home that night that you are free. There's a lot of videotape. There's investigations that will take place.
Trump sending in 700 Marines and another 2,000 National Guard members. We know Marines left 29 Palms last night, and they are here now. We have not seen them staged yet. No timeline on when the National Guard will arrive.
So what I'm hearing is that it's probably best just to not go out there even as press, because they're going to try to link your face on cameras to things that you possibly didn't even have nothing to do with.
The War Dogs just arrived in Los Angeles, and just in case you don't know who that is, let me catch you up. They are the 27th, or the 2nd Battalion and the 7th Marines, also known as the legendary War Dogs. And now their boots are on the ground in Los Angeles. These are not weekend warriors. These are not people that you find on Craigslist. These are battle-hardened, war-forged Marines, trained in the fires of Fallujah, Sangin, and Helmand. They have faced ISIS, Taliban, and insurgents with nothing but grit, God, and a rifle. They don't flinch. They don't blink. They don't negotiate. If you really think that rioting, looting, and tearing down cities is just a game, you're about to meet the real definition of law and order. These men eat chaos for breakfast, and they bring law and order with a steel jaw. The streets of LA are about to feel what it's like when warriors walk the streets with civilians. Not to oppress, but to restore the order that all of these rioters and looters have been causing. And this is the clear message that the military is going to send. If you're looking to cause trouble, you just invited a battalion full of it. The War Dogs are here, and the barking is over. And order is going to be handled in a way that you never saw coming. Thank you, men, for your service. Consider hitting that follow button for your daily updates.
Protests in New York have been going on for now 4 hours, and it really wasn't until the 4th hour that we saw an escalation. After marching through the streets for hours, the NYPD not stopping any of the demonstrators, not getting in their way, not preventing them. Then around 9 o'clock, as protesters continued to march, they started throwing garbage into the street, and that is when the NYPD moved in, told everyone they had to get out of the street, and now this is what we have. Dozens of officers. We have not seen this kind of response all day, and now we have these officers here. These officers, dozens of officers now gathered outside of Federal Plaza. Actually, this is where the ICE offices are here in Manhattan, and this is where dozens of protesters now are ending their night. The NYPD standing by in case they have to make more arrests, and as long as the protesters stay on the sidewalk, the NYPD is not going to make any arrests.
Take a listen to this. And just before officers used tear gas and rubber bullets, protesters tried to block a U.S. Marshal bus from driving through the crowd. See the horn honking, the face-to-face between the bus and the protesters, not to mention the flashbangs going off in the background. And this is another moment captured on camera. Protesters going face-to-face with a law enforcement vehicle and throwing what looked to be milk and other objects at a U.S. Customs and Border Patrol vehicle. And over in Inglewood, citizen video shows someone being stuffed inside a Border Patrol car. A few people were outside of the car protesting law enforcement.
Stop damaging property. You're making it worse.
What is that ring? That's crazy. I can't tell what that is.
Some sort of exhaust ring. Probably from the top of this pipe that's right here next to the ladder.
Elon Musk accused the President of the United States of hiding the Epstein files because he is in them. It wasn't a question, it was an accusation. And it implies Trump is a pedophile to my ears. Now, Trump hasn't responded. Some are taking this as an admission, not me. I think, again, unless Musk does some serious ass-kissing on the quick, Trump is going to sue him for defamation. And if Trump sues, I think he wins. Now, I don't often like Trump's use of litigation. I didn't like it when he threatened to sue my parents for giving birth to me. True story. And I don't like him suing 60 Minutes. Trump could argue not only is the allegation false, but that Musk knows it's false. He knows what he said is BS. And then he could force a huge settlement or a humongous award.
No, he's not lying. He very actually and probably could and will.
You really got people running for their lives after this volcano erupted, even though there were signs that this volcano was finna erupt. I just don't get it. Look at this shit, y'all. They must love it. They love being in danger at this point, I see.
That's what I was saying.
Look at them, y'all. Now they like, oh shit, we must really go.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, would you be one of the people who would be hiking near a volcano that was showing signs that it's finna erupt? So nobody got hurt during this volcano eruption. But what I'm trying to say is, if it was to happen, who would be to blame for it? Them, right? Because they knew it. I see people talking about, oh my God, that is so crazy that they were up there and it just erupted all of a sudden. No, they've been saying it before it erupted. They said the joint was showing signs the other day. But you know, some people just like, hey, let's go hiking. I think it'll be a good idea. I think we can get away with it. And for the people that's like, where does this happen at? This was in Italy. This volcano is called Mount Etna.
That's that video I showed earlier, and I was like, what are y'all doing? Well, look, I don't really know the context of the situation there, but it looks like homeboy was like drunk in public and belligerently drunk in public and then like screaming in dude's face. And they're trained to do exactly what he just did. Whether it was right or not, I don't know.
I attended the protest last night in downtown Austin, and I wanted to clear up a couple of things that the media is getting wrong. The protest started at 7 p.m. at the Capitol building. By the time I arrived, which is at exactly 7:01, cops were already mounted across the street from the protest. They did not arrive 10 minutes into the protest. At around 8 p.m., the group started heading towards the J.J. Pickle Federal Building, which was broken earlier this month that this is where ICE is detaining people that they are illegally kidnapping. Some outlets are reporting that there was a group that split off from the Capitol group and came back to the Pickle, and while that is true, there was also a group that did not go on to the Capitol and stayed at the Pickle the entire time. At around 8:25, a member of the press was abducted by APD, and that was when pepper spray was deployed on the crowd. Shortly afterwards, at about 8:50 p.m. is when DPS started using tear gas on the crowds. They're not calling it tear gas, but that's what it was. At no point in the protest were any protesters violent with police or DPS, and we were instructed by organizers to not engage. After that, a large group returned to the Capitol, though people were starting to peter out then. They marched from the Capitol to the Pickle and then down 6th Street, where they were eventually kettled by police, but peacefully dispersed, although police did bring out sound cannons and threatened to use them. Also, just to clear one thing up, the scooters were being placed in the road to prevent cars from running into pedestrian groups. They were being used as barricades. Thank you.
Okay, but you're still blocking off public streets that are in use without permits. Oh boy. Talk about some Georgia boy stuff. That's where they're at, right? Gotta be. Yeah, the sign says Georgia. Huh, that's crazy. That's exactly like some stuff you'd see in my hometown.
In case you weren't aware, our president, Donald J. Trump, shared the most bizarre conspiracy theory about Joe Biden being a robot or something. Check this out. From user LLIJH on Truth Social, they say, there is no Joe Biden executed in 2020. Biden clones doubles and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what you see. Democrats don't know the difference. Huh? I'm not sure what clones doubles are, and the grammar is just all over the place. And look at the sheer number of hashtags and tags in this. Wow. I really wish I lived in a different country right now. Like, it is embarrassing that our president of the United States of America would repost something like this. Now, it could be, and he'd probably say this if questioned about it, that he was just reposting this old photo of himself. But that doesn't really cut it, because just below the photo, it says the post here. There is no Joe Biden, blah, 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 blah. It's one thing for our president to be okay with QAnon conspiracy theorists, but for him to repost what they're saying himself, spreading it to the world, that's not okay.
I kind of think he's a robot too. Have you seen him lately? Alrighty. Well, that's all we got for today, guys. A bunch of wild videos. Had to cover that. I had to go and say what I had to say. I hope everybody enjoyed their time hanging out. I know I had a pretty decent time hanging out today. I hope that you're all having a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, whatever it might be for you. I appreciate all the support every time that I post one of these videos up. I appreciate all the likes and all the new subscribers. And if you like what you see here, this isn't normally the type of content that we cover over here. This is just a portion of the type of content that we cover over here. But I really felt like this needed to be done and that these things needed to be seen by the public because the other guys are not posting this stuff. And it's probably because this video won't be able to be monetized. But that's fine. I have to get this information out. Anyways, I hope that everyone's having a great day. And, do me a favor if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe, hit that like, drop some comments below about the things going on. And until next time, peace.
Now